Yes, your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another episode of My 2 Cents. I haven't done one in forever. I thought it would be appropriate to do one today. I don't know if you guys heard, but back on October 4th, the Fed did a secret video conference about launching QE4. Now, you know what they're doing right now in the repo markets? They're not even considering it QE, right? They're just saying they're interjecting and adding liquidity to the repo market so the banks can lend and fund each other. Bull. But anyway, we're going to take a look at this article out of Zero Hedge that talks about this secret video conference that went down on October 4th. So I don't know what the hell is going on, people, but something is going on out here, and we need to look into this. And that's why I wanted to bring this to your attention. In addition to that, we're going to take a look at this liquidity that's just evaporating. This is as of today, October 22nd, guys. Fed POMO, or Permanent Open Market Operation, their third bill is 5.5 times oversubscribed. And this is the most yet, and we'll get into the details of this as well. Insane. Something is going down, people. We even had Paul Craig Roberts talking about rip to the American economy. I mean, do you guys agree with him? I do. You know, you have to start looking in between the lines. You can't look at what's currently going on, because that's not giving you a gauge of what's to come, right? People are always walking around saying, oh, you know, kind of slow. Things are kind of slow, but nothing looks to be going bad, and nothing looks, well, it looks good until it doesn't. To the very moment that it doesn't. So article says that while the financial intelligentsia debates whether the Fed's just announced plan to restart POMO with the purchase of T-bills at an initial pace of about $60 billion a month, at least into the second quarter of next year, which really means until forever. I'm gonna be honest with you, because remember, they said they were only doing it for that 1 week, and now we're in week 5, I think, at this point. And it goes on to say, in order to maintain over time ample reserve balances at or above the level that prevailed in early September 2019. As Phil Murray wrote, after hesitating at the September 17th and 18th meeting, the FOMC decided to announce balance sheet expansion well before the next meeting on October 29th and the 30th. This is earlier than the committee anticipated at the previous meeting. It is also well ahead of the Wall Street consensus that had formed a balance sheet announcement that would make the November FOMC. After all, the press conference on September 18th, Powell indicated that organic growth of the level of reserves would be high on the agenda of October's meeting. So it goes on to say that in his speech, though, last week, October 8th, Powell was more explicit and said that the FOMC would soon announce measures to add to the supply of reserves over time. And it turns out that soon actually meant in a few days from that meeting. The reason for that is that a Fed announced in a Q&A that was published alongside the POMO announcement, which flew under the radar amid the flurry of other news on Friday. The FOMC secretly held a video conference on October 4th. The first unscheduled equals, and this is in brackets here, emergency meeting of this cutting cycle. This is interesting. It says the FOMC met by video conference on Friday, October 4th, to discuss issues related to the recent pressure in money markets and monetary policy implementation. There was a broad agreement following that discussion on appropriate technical operations to address these issues. Specific plans were developed for review by the committee this week. As noted in the announcement, the final plans for these technical operations were approved by notation vote that was completed today. So here's Rabobank's forecast of the FOMC decisions going forward, and this is essentially what they call the dot plot. And I mean, they're looking to go back to zero, people. I mean, look at that. December 16th, 2020, 0 to a quarter basis point. So here we go, back to square one. So evidently there was a certain bank in the system that caused this whole situation, guys. That was the catalyst for this sudden and dramatic flare up in repo rates in September. And that may have had one or more phone calls with Powell in hopes of boosting the amount of excess reserves in the interbank market, because clearly 1.4 trillion in reserves is no longer enough, and clearly expanding this amount of reserves to where they were at the peak of the Fed's QE is not QE, as so many so-called pundits will claim. I mean, this just feels like 2007-6 again. People are just oblivious. But this go around, I have no sympathy for people not being prepared, because I wasn't even prepared. I had no clue what was going on. I didn't really get into learning what the hell this whole system was until after everything collapsed and, you know, the veil was lifted. But yeah, so that's where we are with that. They had that secret meeting, and I had this pin from last week, October 13th, actually, and I just didn't get a chance to cover it with you guys. But what I do want to show you that was out fresh off the prints today from Zero Hedge, essentially liquidity has evaporated even more. The Fed's third T-bill POMO is 5.5 times oversubscribed, and that's the most yet. It says earlier this morning, when discussing today's oversubscribed term repo and latest funding squeeze, we previewed today's T-bill POMO, saying, now we are awaiting today's permanent open market operation results for the final proof of funding deterioration. As we expected, today's operations will be the most oversubscribed yet. And this basically what this means, guys, and this confirms that dealers are scrambling to convert their safe assets into dollars as fast as possible. And this is what I was telling you guys, when stuff hits the fan, they're not going to gold, they're not going to cryptos, they're going to dollars. That's dry powder, and then from there they will make decisions on what assets they'll be buying up or running into for safety. And in less than 2 hours, that's precisely what happened when the Fed announced that in its third $7.5 billion treasury bill permanent open market operation, the Fed received a whopping $41.472 billion in liquidity requests. Dealers submitted $41.5 billion in bids for the maximum $7.5 billion in Federal Reserve management, not QE. Remember that, not QE. So that is crazy, insane. As much as the operations were 5.5 times oversubscribed, a notable increase from the first two POMOs conducted last week, when operations were 4.3 times and 4.8 times oversubscribed respectively. And just look at this, people. The Fed's POMO calling it not QE, of course, right? Tell the people a lie long enough, it'll become the truth, right? Look at this though. Oversubscribe ratio heading to the moon. Heading to the moon. So we've got a situation here, people. And I hope you guys are preparing yourselves in whatever way. If you're a business owner, you're preparing yourselves. If you work for someone, you're preparing yourselves. Stuff looks like it's about to get ugly. Definitely by the end of the year. You know, I'm seeing something happening in the markets where we get another freeze. Money market accounts. If you guys have money market accounts, you may want to start pulling a little of that cash out of those money markets. You don't want to be in a situation like 08, 09, where stuff was frozen, of rumors of that being frozen, and you know, it was almost to that point. But don't make the same mistakes as last time, 10 years ago. And let's take a look at some of these comments, because that is the most entertaining part of the internet. They have no chill. You already know that. Sick Dollar said, for me, it's simply a sign to buy even more precious metals. Yeah, but if you're looking to like play this, I would say cryptos are even, you'll see a bigger return in the short term, in particular Bitcoin. You just buy you some Bitcoin, you're gonna see tremendous returns, I think, once everything pans out. Now I don't think it's gonna be instantaneous. It's not gonna be right away. It may be a delay of a month or 2 or 3, but I personally don't think it's going to be it won't be a delay of more than a month before you really start seeing the average Joe buying Bitcoin, buying precious metals. I'm not even talking about institutional money flooding into those markets. I think that is going to be more of a delay, maybe 2-3 months out before you start seeing that. Quantel X said, there is nothing more permanent than a temporary repo market program. accept a new and improved not QE program. Naked Hedgehog said the problem with this discussion is that it ignores why derivatives were legalized and sanctioned at the investment bank and shadow bank level in the first place. So-called fractional reserve banking had hit the objective limit of the money multiplier, and a new means of leverage on the money supply had to be used. This is why the Commodities Modernization Act was engineered in 2000. That is why Glass-Steagall was repealed. The fiat system literally cannot have survived another day without the ability to multiply liquidity through creating derivative, massively over-leveraged cloned assets. The bill is due on this shit. And you can't create wealth through a money multiplier, and you sure can't create wealth replacing the money multiplier with radical leverage through derivatives. Good response there, Naked Hedgehog. Very good understanding of what's going on here. So, you guys let me know your thoughts about this situation in the comments below. How far are we off from seeing another 2009, 2008 scenario where, we wake up Monday morning. They always do it over the weekend. That's their MO. We wake up Monday morning, people going to work, and boom, we see Dow open up, Dow futures. Sunday night, we see a futures down 2,000 points, something like that, to kick the week off. So I think that's possibly coming. Not saying this is the end of the world, none of that, but it may definitely get ugly very soon. Again, you guys let me know your thoughts on this situation and about that video conference that happened on October 4th. Pretty crazy. It's your boy Crypto Blood. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell. And I'm gonna make sure I get back on my regular My 2 Cents videos. I'm out here, people. Holla. Every year the whole state down.